Since late 2022, the plan to build a $2 billion electric vehicle battery plant by international company Gotion divided the small rural community of Green Charter Township in Mecosta County. Now, the two loudest voices from each side of the argument are looking back on the fight that has changed the community. One of them says they may never get back to normal. 13 on your sides, Micah Cho has more on that conversation and where the plans for Gotion stand right now.
For months, Green Charter Township has been peaceful, which for almost 3 years, it was anything but.
I'm not staying here. I refuse to raise my kids downwind of that stupid plant.
Starting in 2023, once a month, people from across Mecosta County, Big Rapids, and Green Charter Township would pack the latter's boardroom to discuss one topic, Gotion.
I went online and I checked out who Gotion was, and it's this international company originating in China, but it was in Morocco and it's in South America, and they just were building a plant in Germany.
Former Green Charter Township Supervisor Jim Chapman and his board of commissioners supported Gotion's plan to build a $2.3 billion plant on 270 acres of land next to the Big Rapids Airport and US 131. By the time the project's land agreement was finalized, the state of Michigan had already approved $400 million in incentives for the company. One of its biggest opponents, Lori Brock, the owner of Majestic Friesian's horse farm less than a mile away from the proposed site.
And after this came upon, this whole community is divided to a point where it will never come back, I don't believe.
Brock, like hundreds of others who were against the plant, cited environmental concerns.
Jim Chapman said there is a 0% chance of having any contamination. There is no way that you can have a 0% chance of no contamination when you're building anything.
And the company's alleged ties to the Chinese Communist Party.
We brought it up repeatedly about the CCP connection, which they adamantly denied, but the Articles of Association showed that they were part of the CCP.
All of which Chapman and Gotion's Vice President of North American Operations, Chuck Thalen, denied time and time again.
This is my finger. And that's how non-toxic this material is.
Both points, however, were later used by big-name politicians like former Congressman and then Senate candidate Mike Rogers and then Vice Presidential candidate J.D. Vance to rally public opinion against Gotion. The two rallies were held at Brock's farm in the summer of 2024.
Kamala Harris not only wants to allow the Chinese Communist Party to build factories on American soil, she wants to pay them to do it with our tax money.
The debate became so heated in the township that Chapman and 4 other board members were voted out of office during the recall election in November of 2023. Jason Cruz, who was elected to replace Chapman as township supervisor, and his new board have been tied up in a lawsuit with Gotion since March of 2024 for violation of the development agreement that Chapman's board approved the year prior. The lawsuit alleges that Green Charter Township failed to approve a water line for the project, with Gotion citing that as a violation of the contract.
Chapman just took it upon himself to sign it. So we don't believe it was never done legally.
I worked with the lawyers at every step of the way, and all the T's were crossed and all the I's were dotted.
Now, with the project stalled, the state has ordered Gotion to pay back $50 million in incentives they were previously granted by the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. And while there is a division in the community, especially between Chapman and Brock, they both can agree on one thing.
Yeah, I do think it's done. They know that the community doesn't support them. They know that we've exposed all their lies. They're never going to have support, ever, never, ever.
Of fighting to get that board to follow and issue the permits. So it's not worth the fight. And it's terrible. It's unfortunate. It's a loss to the community. It's a loss to the state.
For 13 on your side, I'm Micah Cho.